most surprising and most disappointing teams this upcoming season. Surprising, I have the Seattle Seahawks. I looked at their Vegas odds and lines, and they're plus 125 to win 9 games this year. I think that feels like a very safe floor for them. I think they should win at least 8 games this year, and I think they'll win 9 or 10. The defense is the best unit in the division by far. I think they have an elite level defense. And then I look at Sam Darnold, and the gap between him and Purdy and Kyler isn't that large. I think Stafford at his best is the best quarterback in that division. And if this offense can be real, then I think it helps them a lot. Like, I know the downgrade from Geno to Sam Darnold is a downgrade, but I think the upgrade from Ryan Grubb to Clint Kubiak is even bigger. I think that Clint Kubiak brings in a real offensive system. It's not a college offense, and he has an NFL family background. I just think that his teams have collapsed down the stretch of the year with injury, but when he has players that are healthy, they're able to play at a high level, and they're blocking well in the preseason right now. I think Gray Zabel is a lock to be a good player, and I see 3 players on the Seahawks offensive line that are good. It's Abraham Lucas, Charles Cross, and Gray Zabel. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's really about Oluwatimi, the center, and Anthony Bradford at right guard, who Bradford is better run blocker than pass blocker. Mm-hmm. But if they're in heavier personnel and sets, I think that they'll benefit from that. And if Sam Darnold can just manage the game and let the defense win, I think they'll have a very successful season. I think that's his next evolution as a quarterback. He was able to go above and beyond in Minnesota and make big-time throws. In Seattle, it's going to be more so about, can you take care of the football? And I think that's the next step for him to become a better quarterback. And then disappointment, I just have the Commanders. 12-5 last season. I think they're more of a 9-win team.
What a season.
8-4 and 1-score games. And I think the combination of them making the NFC Championship game and Jaden Daniels having the rookie season he had has brought a lot of hype to the team. But this was a team that, although they blew the brakes off the Detroit Lions, this was a team that was in a close game again against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And, you know, the Buccaneers win that game in a close one. We're not talking about them the same way as if they just went to the NFC Championship, because now the expectation is Jaden Daniels not only replicate his rookie season, but become a legit MVP candidate. And then the Commanders be a team that is one of the very best in the NFC East. And to me, I just don't think the defensive talent, specifically on the defensive line, reflects that. I think their defensive line is still not good, and they can't consistently get pressure after the quarterback. And I look at a team like the Dallas Cowboys, who coaching is the question, but in terms of sheer talent, I think they're just as talented as a team like Washington. So for me, I have them as a disappointing team, and I don't think they're going to replicate the season they had last year.
Yeah, listen, Joe, I can hear where you're coming from. I respect the Commanders, even though 12-5, given the team that they had, seemed a little bit shocking. You got to give them credit.
Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love?
Jordan Love.
Jaden Daniels by country mile.
Jaden
That
Daniels.
being said,
Easily.
So easily.
It's not even close.
Yeah.
My most surprising team, I mentioned the Giants earlier, but I also will mention the Miami Dolphins. This defense last year without Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips was a top 10 unit. Dels, you keep talking about the secondary, and it's fair. It's right. Whole new personnel. I think that there's some backups on the Broncos that would start immediately for the Miami Dolphins. But this was a team that was banged up on the defensive side of the ball and still was really great. Offensively, Tua in and out of the lineup. Jalen Waddle, not 100% himself. You do lose Jonnu Smith, don't get me wrong. That is an absolute bummer. But with the defense being as great as it is, or will be as good as it is, especially getting after the quarterback, and as long as Tua is healthy, this is a team that can make the playoffs. And as for the other team, the Giants, I think this defense is going to be a top 10 unit. I do think that Russell Wilson has a good season this year. A good season as in he's in that range from 18 to 20. Like there's a lot of quarterback talent in this league, and that's not a knock. But I think with Brian Daboll as his head coach, I think that with Andrew Thomas, God willing, stays healthy on and is on that football field, we're talking about a good offensive line. He's that much of a game changer. With Malik Neighbors, who's already entering top 10 conversations, Wan'Dale Robinson, I'm not the hugest fan of Darius Slayton. He can't catch a cold, but with Malik Neighbors, at least there's going to be so much attention on them that you know that they're going to have their opportunity. I think the Giants can be a sneaky team. And for disappointment, I find myself going to the Chargers. I just can't see a team with now Rashawn Slater hitting the IR, devastating, genuinely one of the best talents at the position. It sucks to see him go down. But this offensive line was being held together by him and Joe Alt. A great duo at the tackle position, but on the interior, not good. So now you lose one of the best in the game. It's Joe Alt who's going to move to the left tackle, I can only assume. And now a rest of a bunch of guys that are below average to average at best. That offensive line is going to be tricky. What's to make of the run game in terms of Omarion Hampton now behind this offensive line, who obviously was drafted in the first round? Najee Harris, who we've known to be inconsistent as a rusher, dealing with an eye injury, who seems to be back at camp. That's good to see. But then the defensive side of the ball, is that sustainable? Is Khalil Mack getting older? Is he going to be the same player? That's something you could probably hope to rely on because he's a probably soon to be Hall of Famer. But I don't know how I can overly trust that offensive personnel, given the injury to Rashawn Slater, given the inconsistency of their offense. That's kind of where I have my hesitancies with the Chargers.
Go, boss?
Yeah, I think most surprising team, Carolina Panthers.
I like that a lot.
I know Bryce Young has been getting some flack, and rightfully so, your number one overall pick. There's some expectations that you got to uphold too, but I think when it was rock bottom, the only way is up. He finally got himself a number one wide receiver in Tet. At least that's what they hope. I think Xavier Legette is going to improve from year one to year two.
I hope so, man.
And we saw once Bryce Young got his confidence back, he was night and day a completely different quarterback.
Thank
it
God.
actually worked the gamble of, and I don't even think the Panthers meant for this to happen. I thought they were completely done with Bryce Young, and then he ends up coming back and it's kind of like, again, if it's rock bottom, only way is up. So I think Bryce Young and the Panthers, they'll win 7-8 games and make it interesting towards the end. They might spoil the Falcons season or spoil the Buccaneers season. The Saints not gonna do nothing, but those will be the teams competing for the NFC South. So most disappointing team is two teams. I agree completely with Joel that the Commanders are primed for a disappointing season. Yes, do I want that as an Eagles fan? For sure. But I also saw this stat. Well, all the matchups that the Commanders, face, right? The Commanders, they were 12-5 last year.
You're going to name their quarterbacks?
Here were the 12 starting quarterbacks they faced. Daniel Jones, Andy Dalton, Caleb Williams. Hey, if Tyreek Stevenson isn't taking selfies or whatever with the crowd, I mean, they lose that game. Daniel Jones again, Cooper Rush, Will Levis, Jake, I can't even say his last name. Nobody knows who he is. Spencer Rattler, Kenny Pickett. They would have won that game, the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts is in that game. Louvu, dirty hit.
Henry Smith catches the ball.
Yeah, somebody catch the ball. Trey Lance, Deshaun Watson, and I'll give them Joe Burrow. Jane Dance was amazing. But you given that schedule, now you're going to actually face some better defenses this year. I think it's definitely on the table for them to get 9 wins. And I think the Cowboys, if the whole Micah Parsons situation, gets cleaned up and there isn't bitterness there, they could actually have a better record come next season. And I think the Patriots, too, are getting a lot of hype, crowning them. Oh, they're going to be the next, hot team. Mike Vrabel's out here on, I guess, trying to break up the fights and all this stuff. So I see the hype. But the foundation is the trenches, and their foundation is pretty much shot right now. They got a year or two to get that, really developed. So, and the wide receivers, I mean, they've missed on a lot of wide receivers. A lot. And I like Stephon Diggs, but if he's your number one at this stage of his career, you're not in a good situation. So, Commanders and Patriots.
I'll piggyback off that because my disappointment is in the same division. It's not going to be the Bills.
You better hope you're right, bro, because he's spitting about the Patriots. They're mid.
I think the Patriots are fine. I think Miami's coming in 4th place this year.
No, 4th place?
They would be my disappointment.
Need Jesus.
Is some of this blind faith in the Jets who have never done shit? Yes. But I think there's real reasons why Miami could come in last.
There's nothing
see
you
third.
guys do.
Miami was a good defense last year. They were more or less a top 10 unit. I agree with you. The pass rushers are getting healthy.
It's gonna carry.
Bradley Chubb, Jalen
Chop
Phillips,
Robinson's a
Chop
dog.
Robinson. You guys have the dudes.
Zach Seiler, come on.
The secondary last year was probably the highlight when it comes to dropback EPA. This was a top 10 unit in that and success rate. This was probably the stronger of the two units, again, because the pass rush was banged up. But the secondary is completely changed, right? And you do swap Jalen Ramsey for Minka Fitzpatrick. I think that's an area you feel good about. But the remaining starters, I don't feel great about. I do worry about communication issues early in the season in that secondary, leading up to some possible big plays. And offensively, the vibes are off, right? The Tyreek Hill shit in the offseason. Jalen Waddle's been banged up. Tyreek's been banged up too. Achane got banged up today with a lower body injury. McDaniel said he's somewhere between days and weeks, whatever that means. The offensive line is worse than it was last season. There's some real concerns, I think, from the Miami team. The only thing that stops me from putting them like real disappointment is just what their expectations. I feel like even if you're a hopeful Dolphins fan, it's like a playoff appearance, maybe a playoff
that's
win.
Why
if
they're
you're
going to be the most
if
surprising.
you're really, really into them. So that's why I'm going pretty extreme and saying they'll come in fourth.
Well, how it feels with the Dolphins right now is that when they got Mike McDaniel, they were going up here, and they reached an apex, I would say, in 2023 when they were leading the division, the AFC East. And then from there, it has been a free fall. So you're basically betting it's not gonna go and loop back up, but it's gonna go fall.
It's gonna
all the way.
keep going down.
And I don't think it's crazy to think that, because the offense has made major transitions in different areas. Like at first, they were a big play explosive offense. Then this past season, they had to become the shortest passing offense in the NFL. Tua had the lowest average depth of target in the league last year, and that's because they were spamming bubble screens to Achane and Jonnu Smith, and that's just what they needed to do.
And they swapped out Jonnu
survive.
Smith, who was their leading receiver at a point last year, for Darren Waller, who hasn't practiced yet.
And they've had to do that because the offensive line has been poor, and the run game last year is the first time that it fell off in the way that it did, because in 2022 and 2023, they had a solid run game, especially running to the outside of their tackles. But last year, it wasn't that way. So if they continue to be sluggish offensively, which from all reports of the joint practices they've had, they have gotten their asses kicked. Like in the Bears joint practice, I think they had a terrible day to where Tua didn't even want to grade his performance for the day because they were just so bad and out of sync. So I think right now the vibes in Miami definitely feel off. You have Jalen Ramsey taking a shot at Mike McDaniel. You have Tyreek Hill, and basically the team kind of not all vibing with the coaching situation there. So it is a team that could free fall. Mm-hmm. If there's a year that it can happen, I think it would be this year.
And then, of course, I still don't know why they don't invest in backup quarterback. Like, of course you want Tua to stay healthy. If Tua gets hurt, the team falls apart. But why are we relying on Zach Wilson?
You saw him today?
I really don't care.
He kind of balled.
Okay, I really don't care.
I'm just
I thought
saying.
you said Zach, going to ball out.
Nah.
Well, he's not saying I'm saying.
I could have sworn I saw that.
Anything that he says about Zach Wilson, you
take with a grain of salt.
throw it out. You just throw it out.
It's true.
For my surprising team, I was considering New England because I do think they're going to go from a 4-win team to like an 8-win team. They are getting a little overhyped, I agree. But I didn't pick them. I was thinking San Francisco too, because I think San Francisco, just given their schedule, just some improvements. I think getting Robert Saleh back, which we talked about earlier, is going to be huge for their defense. But they're another team that they've had recent success. So like if they're good again, no one's surprised. So if I had to pick a bad team, right, a team that is going from like kind of what we're all doing, right, a team that didn't make the playoffs, that was like one of the 5 to 10 worst teams in the league, I would put my money on the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars bringing in Liam Cohen and this new offense that worked so great, even better than it did with Dave Canales and Tampa Bay. I think this offense has a chance to be a top 10 to 12 unit in the league. Last year, Trevor Lawrence played 10 games, got hurt. I think we're souring too much on Trevor Lawrence. If you take out last year and you take out his rookie year, he's been a top 15 quarterback in the NFL, right? He's been top 9 in success rate, top 14 in EPA per play. He's been a fine quarterback, and that's with really no weapons. It's been Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram and Gabe Davis. We're going into this season. We
can just take out years.
I'm taking out his rookie year, which I think we all agree, and last year, which was a bit of a mess because he got hurt. So the 2 healthy years where he didn't have Urban fucking Meyer as his head coach.
I'm fine with taking away the rookie year, but I'm just saying we're deleting years now.
The numbers would probably still be a top 15 to 16 guy even without
I
last
don't
year.
think that that's true.
Maybe 18. But this year, in my opinion, I think he has the best play caller of his career. He definitely has the best wide receiver 1 of his career.
Easily.
He has the best wide receiver 2 of his
Easily.
career. So I believe in this offense in a kind of weird division with the Texans' offensive line falling apart. No run game because Joe Mixon is banged up. It's a division that isn't up for grabs. The Texans still got it because the defense is one of the 4 or 5 best units in the league. But it's a division that they're going to play Houston twice. They're going to play the Colts twice. Like, they have matchups that they can win. And as long as they go maybe like 500 and out of division games, they can hover around an 8-win team.
They lost 11 one-score games
That's
last year.
insanity, bro.
They're due.
Yeah, every one-score
They're
game they basically
due.
lost. So I do think that there's room for Jacksonville to improve.
They
I like
lost
their
one-score
surprise.
games enough to get Travis Hunter. W.
Well,
So
yeah.
honestly, how
they were
you
the
talking? How
good
you
pick.
talking is they should
They can win the
compete for
division. Talk.
They could.
because
They
that
could.
Texans offensive line,
It's
like
nasty.
it was bad last year.
Listen.
And you trade your best offensive lineman.
I don't
to
know
the
what was
Commanders.
going on in the GM's
Like,
head.
Their defense is gonna be elite. It's gonna be amazing. But that
For sure.
offensive line, I mean, I like CJ Stroud.
Get us out there type?
Bruh.
Yeah, nah, it's bad, bro.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's not a good unit at all. So you think that Trevor Lawrence is gonna have a better season than Mr. Kyler Murray this year or no?
So hold on. I was just looking at the e-paper play, including last year. Trevor Lawrence, 17th. Top 18, like I said.
You lowered
Kyler-
you changed it to top 18.
You said Kyler, Trevor Lawrence. I could see Trevor doing it. I definitely can. I'm into Liam Cohen. I'm into this. The fact that Travis Hunter is legitimately like going to be a focal point on offense, not like, 50-50. He's saying 80% offensive snaps. You're a starter. There's not a lot of players playing more than 80% of snaps anyway. That's a full-time offensive player. Him and Brian Thomas, a run game that Liam Cohen has shown that I can produce an elite run game, and you have a two-head monster with Tank and ETN that feed off of each other. I think Trevor can have a better statistical season for sure.
And that's going to do it for this episode of the Pick a Side Podcast, episode 502. I want to thank Mr. Miles Johnson
Yes,
for
sir.
pulling up in studio.
Legend.
Very
Yes, sir.
clutch. Very clutch. So we
Very
didn't have to
clutch. You
change up
locked
the
in for
setup.
a minute.
Yes.
Locked in.
We
locked
didn't
in.
have to change up the
Appreciate y'all.
setup. We got the 4-person setup here. It would have been a hassle to make it 3 people.
That's why I thought because Joel didn't tell us if you were pulling up, but
Yeah.
when he said we're not like recording on StreamYard or whatever, I'm like, oh, I think he's gonna pull up. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's always better when you
they
people
knew
are
that you were
Yeah.
coming, but not in person.
Facts.
Maybe, I
Yeah.
think.
because
Did you think he was coming in person?
No.
I had an inkling
Oh.
because usually if we're doing something on StreamYard, we're doing it at home because it's easy to record.
Yeah.
But it's so much when you're in person, so much better.
I would
right? You
also
can just
say
flow
this,
better,
sir,
have
bro.
conversation.
We don't often have guests in studio.
That's
it's been
say-
OG
We've
man.
had and Ryan Hammer.
and Nerd Sesh.
And
If they
Nerd
count,
Sesh.
but they weren't on the
Facts.
show.
They weren't on the
Fresh.
episode exactly.
But
Yeah,
I
short
do
form.
usually say, is there anything you want to shout out before you go?
Hey, shout out, Real Talk with MJ, all that. Do want to give y'all flowers because been watching y'all since 2020. Joel Furs, Drew, all of y'all like going crazy. Shout out Rev. Be doing some. I've been seeing like his viral take on like Steph
KD.
Curry.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's on
facts,
fire.
facts.
That is a fire take.
It's on fire. So,
That video
like,
was lit.
I love what y'all doing. Like young guys getting into it. Everybody, dedicated, all that. So love the following y'all have. Pleasure to be on.
We appreciate it. We're
Hell yeah,
happy
man.
we had
Facts.
you on, and you guys can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod and on TikTok and on Instagram at Pick a Side Podcast, where we just hit 100K followers.
Yeah, shout out
Which
to
is
y'all.
a great
That was
milestone.
huge,
Yeah,
man.
we just hit 100K on
Very
there.
proud of that.
So shout out to you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.